Welcome back to part 3 of the video series here of the house that we're wiring in Attleboro, Massachusetts. Today we got a bunch more stuff done. I'm going to take you guys through that very shortly. So right now I'm going to start working on these outdoor plugs. I finished one the other day, but now I got 3 more to do, and I also have one more to do, but we're not sure where the location of the AC unit's going to go. We need a plug within 25 feet of the condenser, so we got to make sure we get that in. Right now, I'm going to focus on getting these island lights in. There's going to be 3 pendant lights on this island, and then there's also going to be 4 recess lights inside the kitchen. These are going to be 4-inch lights. On this island here, originally I drew out the island and realized that there was no overhang until eventually the builder said, yes, there is going to be a 12-inch overhang. So I actually had to shift all those lights over 6 inches in order to get everything lined up properly. But that wasn't an issue because obviously the island was still 36 inches wide, which kept my center point the same. However, that other measurement was going to be wrong. But take a look at how accurate I get these lights. I set up the laser, make sure everything is nice and straight and just dead on in line. Because if you're sitting down and looking at these island lights and are also standing to the side of the island and look up, if those lights are like a 3/16 to a quarter of an inch off, and sometimes even an eighth inch with those canopies, it just will not look right. So now I'm going to sight down these lights. They're perfectly in line, and this is why I use the laser on every single light inside this home. It has to be dead on, and that's the way I like to do things. Just do it right the first time and just be done with it. But right now, this is the whole entire kitchen overview right here. And this is what we basically got to today. We started pulling a bunch of wires on the first floor. We got a bunch of 3-ways, a bunch of 4-ways going in. I still have to run the wires for some 4-ways because we actually ended up adding one, because what ended up happening was when you came up through the basement, you weren't able to turn on the kitchen lights, which is something that I didn't really like very much. So we are going to add a 4-way there, just in case you want to turn the kitchen lights on, because they did not want a hallway light, which was very strange. I'm not sure why they didn't want one coming up from the basement stairs in that little hall area. I might be able to show you if I can catch it real quick in this video. But yeah, they didn't want one there, so we wanted to make sure that you had some sort of light coming out of the basement. Very briefly, I just showed you how we actually moved those plugs that were underneath the windowsill. And the reason for that was the builder actually decided they were going to go with a granite backsplash now, which was going to put us like out about 1.5 inches. So the issue with that was the plug was not going to be able to fit into the counter space. It was going to interfere with the granite. So we ended up shifting that plug over to the left, which just barely made our 2-foot clearance on the left. And then over to the right, the issue with that was we had a 4-inch plumbing stack to the right, so we had to shift it over even more, which put us at 28. But we did contact the inspector, and he said he would allow it because that 4-inch plumbing stack was in the way. So as you can see right there, that's what the end result of those plugs look like. You can see I got my flashing tucked under there with the bead of sealant all the way around there just to make sure nothing's going to leak. I had a bunch of questions on that, how did I flash it? And that's what the inside of that actually looked like. And now I had another question about this dining room light. Is there going to be a fan there? No, that's just going to be a regular dining room light. It's just going to be a basic chandelier. So that's why there was a 14.2 being ran there and not a 14.3, because again, it's just going to be a regular chandelier. This was like the kids' room, or like the school room we called it. I actually finished the recess in there. There's going to be 3 4-inch recess in there as well. And now we're going to go up to the second floor. Not really much happened on the second floor today. We did cut some more stuff in. Basically, we were trying to concentrate on the first floor, get that all squared away. I did have some questions, though, about how we do these recess lights. I briefly showed it in the last video, but what we do is we just tack the staple in there, tape the 2 wires together, and then we get it all squared away just like that. I also had some questions about these fan lights. The junction box is built into the back side of them right there, and there is a night light on there. So there's going to be a blue wire for the night light, and then there's also going to be a black wire for the regular light. And basically what we did was, we just left the night light out because they didn't really want it. So now we're just going to have that regular light. So one wire is going to control the light, the other wire is going to control the fan, and it's just going to be as simple as that. And if they do, want to add the night light, then that's something that we can add in the future, because like I said, the third floor is going to be completely unfinished. And someone asked me, what's going to go up there. It's not going to be blown in insulation. It's just going to be a regular insulation because they're going to see if they can actually spray foam the roof and get the R value that way. I did have some questions on how we did these vanity lights. Basically, what we do is we run two separate switch legs, one for each light, and then we just bang the staple in very lightly. And that way, when you cut your 4-inch hole, depending on how big the counter is going to be, you can easily just pull the wire off that staple, and then you can cut in your box. So that's why we do that. And we also run two switch legs because if one wire does get damaged for whatever reason, we can just drill through the stud and tap into that other light rather than having to run a whole new switch leg because now you don't have any. This is the basement access. You can see that big giant I-beam that's down there. There is a staircase right there which goes to the garage. We were running some wires down here. It's a little tricky running some wires down here because everything is just kind of in the way here. There's plumbing down here, and the sill is kind of busy. But we are getting it done through here. We can drill through some of these floor joists, but we don't really like to do that. We just like to run it all the way around the sill. That way we don't compromise the structure of the building. And now I'm going to take you guys into the garage. I did have some questions about where the panel was going. So that panel is actually going to the left side of the house there. And we're not doing an underground service. We're going to be doing an overhead service. Just because there is an 8 kV pipe that actually runs underneath the foundation going to the neighbor's house in the back. There's a transformer back there. So that's why we decided to go overhead, and the builder also agreed to go overhead. He didn't really mind if we did underground or overhead. So we're going to go overhead. And this is how we got the lights here. There is an LVL there, but again, the builder said it was okay to drill through that LVL and put those lights right there because that's where they wanted it. And we also finished up these recessed lights on the porch here. So if you're in the Massachusetts area and you need a high quality electrician, give us a call. We are taking new clients.